Hey, my name's Furtive. Some of you know me, some of you don't. But long story short, I work on a lot of esports tournaments behind the scenes, including a lot of Rocket League. I just want to peel back the curtain on one little aspect of what goes into, starting a tournament, which is seeding, and specifically on smashgg when it comes to applying that seeding. Because usually, you take all the information you need for seeding and you work with a group of other people collaboratively, usually in a Google sheet, and you say like, these are my opinions on where these players should rank, and then you combine those together and you come up with a final seeding list of first seed through whatever seed. And in this case, for this 1v1 tournament, that's 128 seeds. But you're not done yet. You have to actually enter those seeds before you can generate and share the bracket with people. So to do that through the UI on smashgg, you'll be looking at a page like this one. And yeah, I've enlarged this so you can read it more, but it doesn't look much prettier if you normal size it. So yeah, you can see we have 128 players in this 1v1, and none of them are seeded. So if I want to take this nice list of seeding we've come up with as a team and apply it, I have to click and drag all of these into the correct one of those 128 slots, basically. And you can imagine that's a nightmare. So there's a better way. Save some time. By some time, I mean a lot of time. Here's what you got to do. You got to have a little bit of like super basic computer knowledge to use what I've come up with. If you're a software engineer or aspiring programmer, coder, developer by trade, have at it yourself. You can definitely come up with a more elegant solution than me. But this will save you a lot of time as is. So I will link this, but basically, this is a Python script I wrote that will read from a Google Sheet, such as this one that I've put together, and will take the information on this sheet as it is, and has to be formatted a certain way we'll get to. And we'll take all these seeds for all of these players and apply them to the bracket that we need it to be applied to. And it does this pretty much instantaneously, so you don't have to click and drag 128 names around. You can imagine that continues to scale. Like, in the past, some RLCS qualifiers had 1,000 teams. Like, can you imagine trying to load a page of 1,000 names and click and drag them? Anyways, so what you're going to need in the very start is a list of all the entrants and their seed IDs. This is some very important information. You will need this in order to go the route I'm going. And I recommend either, if you're savvy, you can export that information via the API yourself, or probably most easy solution for general user is to go to your bracket setup page on smashgg, go to the event and phase that you need it for. In this case, this would be the one that I'm looking at. And go ahead and click that download button. That will export a sheet that contains, in each row, the seed ID and the entrant name. And if you're working on a Teams event, that will also include, like, in that row, like, the names of the players on that team as well. So that would be your starting point for, putting together your seeding sheet before you have people collaborate on it, so that the whole time you're working on this, you will have the seed ID for each person or team that you're seeding. Then fast forward, you do all the seeding, and then you have this as an output, which is a sheet with, the seed ID, what seed they are, like 1 through whatever, seed 1, seed 2, seed 3, And the player team name, you don't have to have this in here, but I have this in here because obviously it's good for your sanity to double check that it looks right. So you need a sheet like this. You also need the script, which I will link, or to write your own. You need a code editor or something that you can edit code files in, basically. VS Code is a very popular choice, which is what I'm going to be using. So you can see I've opened it up here, and we'll get back to that in a minute. And you are also going to need an API key for smashgg, and that's probably the easiest thing to do so far that we've talked about. All you got to do on smashgg, click your name in the bottom left, click on developer settings, and then create a new token. And again, this is going to have to be on an account that has admin permissions on the tournament. So if you are an admin on the tournament and you make a key, then it can be used to seed and do other various actions to get and change information. And for that reason, it is very, very, very important that you do not ever share an API token with someone else. Even if it's a friend, just don't do it. Because that could definitely come back and bite you in the butt. You don't want that being shared with anyone. And I'm being very explicit about that because you're about to see the token that I'm about to make. I'm going to delete that token so it can't be used before I upload this video. And that's the only reason this is okay. But do not ever share a token or show a token to someone, because it can have dangerous consequences on any tournament you're working on. Anyways, with that out of the way, you go to create a token, give it a name. Doesn't really matter, it just helps you remember why you made this token and when, because again, you can delete tokens to make sure that they're secure. So we're going to call this video seeding example. And example, but this is a real world example. I am actually seeding this tournament right now. Like I said, pulling back the curtain. I'd like you to see just a little bit of what goes on. Click save, and again, you see this token. Do not try to use this token. It will be deleted long before you give that a shot. We copy the token. We need to plug that into the script I wrote. It goes in the auth token value here. So great, we got a token. We need the Sheets key, and we need a phase ID. The Sheets key is your Google Sheets key. It's part of the URL up here. I've highlighted. It's hard to miss. It's between the /d/ and then a very long key that you copy here, and then another slash. So we copy that, and we paste that into the Sheets key value here. And the last thing we need is a phase ID. This is also not super intuitive, but the easiest way to collect this is if you're on the seeding page, it is the last number in the URL. We'll just leave it at that. It's the easiest way you can collect that phase ID. Go to the pools and seeding page, make sure you have the right one selected in case you have multiple events or multiple phases, and copy the last number in the URL. And that's it. Now we have the phase ID. Now, I have written the script in a very particular way where the seed IDs need to be in the far left row, and the seed number, like what seed they are, first seed, second seed, needs to be in the second from the left column, sorry. Seed ID in the far left column, seed number in the second from the left column. And that looks like this, as you saw earlier. Seed ID in the far left column, seed number 1 through whatever in the second from the left column. And with that, all of that information entered, all we have to do now, make sure you save the script file with these changes if you haven't, is we just have to run it. VS Code has a terminal built in. That makes things pretty easy. Otherwise, you can use PowerShell, terminal, whatever you need to use. The basic syntax. Oh yeah, also you need to install Python if you're going to use this script. I can make a like from scratch setup video, but Google searches will get you most of the way there on pretty much any of these. So again, just install Python if you don't have it already. And then once we're in a terminal, in the right folder. So in this case, I'm in a folder I made that's the same folder this script is in. I just have to write Python apply.py, and this will what? Duplicate. I have a duplicate seed. Okay. No, I mean, hey, you know, sometimes you do this stuff live. So the reason this failed is because I didn't actually write the seed numbers out for everyone. I accidentally only went to 100, and there's 128 of them. So it's an easy fix. Just gotta go 101, 102, 103, and so on. I'm just gonna fill this in to 128. Anyways, here you go, free troubleshooting. Should be able to just run that one back real quick. Yep, that's all that was missing. I just forgot to give the seed numbers to the last 28 on the bottom. So it's applied, and we can see that, you know, here it is. I just need to refresh the page. You see none of these people are actually seeded and ordered yet. Go ahead and refresh, and voila, it's all seeded. And really, that's it. Like, I didn't have to click and drag 128 names. I know that this video, it wasn't like the most concise, and it might feel a little complicated, but trust me, like, when you start working on a bunch of tournaments, and especially when you're working on multiple projects at a time, and you get to the end of the day and you're like, oh, I need to, you know, like finish up the seeding and apply it for this other tournament. It is a load off the mind to just know that, like, you can just run a script and you're not going to have to spend like 90 minutes of your time while you're like operating at 15% energy level. And instead you just click a button, you're done. Super quick, even though obviously I trust in my own work, it's always good to double check. So just make sure that like things match as expected. Like I would read like the first 5 to 10. Khalid, Daniel. Khalid, Daniel. I don't remember if it's Turk or Trek. Reziers. I'm gonna get most of these names wrong. Etsy, Dead Monster, Twiz, Luis P. Toxic, Ashley. So those all look good. And, you know, maybe just pick something randomly down here, like number 70 should be Gas Pow. That should be a good litmus test for like whether something's off. And number 70 is Gas Pow. So I feel pretty confident that all of these are correct, if those many are correct. And now that I'm done with that, I can actually, you know, publish the bracket so people can see it. So yeah, this is just live off the cuff little tutorial on some important knowledge sharing for how you can spend less time running your tournament and more time being a happy human, and, you know, investing a little bit of that energy back into helping other humans be happy when they compete in your event. So if you have any questions or, you know, things you'd like to see me cover, just let me know. I don't think I'm going to put this on YouTube or anything, but at least Twitter. Hope it helped.